Hey FW, I'm Melissa.
And I'm Stephanie Carcache, and we're two sisters and the founders of Millennial Women.
And your host of Millennial Women Talk. Elaine Goldsmith Thomas is the epitome of a timeless career. From becoming a powerhouse agent to actresses like Julia Roberts, Madonna, Halle Berry, and Jennifer Lopez, to producing some of our favorite films and TV series such as Maid in Manhattan, Mona Lisa Smile, Hustlers, The Fosters, World of Dance, and so many more. And even writing and producing films like Second Act.
Elaine proves that there are many lives to create in this one life we are blessed to experience, and that the only thing stopping you from living out your life is you. But Elaine, honestly, you're just fascinating. From your days of being an agent to now producing and writing. First, welcome to our show.
Yeah.
It's an honor to have you on.
Thank you. It's fun to do this. I love that you're sisters, and I love that you're doing it, and I love that it's called Millennial Women, and and I love that I get to be at home. It's like fun. How do you not do it?
I know, it's so great. It's so great.
So tell us a little bit, and you've had an incredible and very long career, which is so inspiring, but can you tell us a little bit about how it all started? How did you begin in entertainment?
It's funny because I'm writing a book, historical fiction, but very much about what it was like to be a woman in the 80s at an agency where I started. I graduated college a little early, so I think I was just 21 when I started in this crazy industry. And it was different. It was different. It was the 80s, and I had wanted to get my boyfriend when I was in high school, an agent. I wanted to do anything for my boyfriend. I just wanted to get the yes. It was like, oh my God, I worshipped him, and he barely knew I was alive. So that only propelled me further. And and he wanted an agent. He said, I want an agent. And I said, oh, not a problem, though I didn't know what one was exactly. I had a cousin 15 times removed who was famous, and of course I lied to him and I said, I have a cousin who can help you. And then I had to figure out how to get in touch with the cousin, who by the time I did, I couldn't get in touch. So I was working at a card store in the Northridge Mall. I'm a California girl. That's where I'm from, the Valley, Deep Valley. I just wanted to live closer to Ventura Boulevard. That was how limited my aspirations were. And I was working at a card store, and I had all of the girls at the card store put in order all of the agencies that were in California at the time. This was, I don't know, 83. No, this was I think, God, might have been 80. And so we put all of the agents in order, all the agencies by locale, Yeah. So you go in Hollywood, these people were in Beverly Hills. And then on my days off, I'd take my dad's car, Dodge Dart Swinger, and I'd go over the hill, and I had his portfolio, which I had paid for. And I went to every agent, and I understood the rules. I learned them quickly, that you had to get friendly to the receptionist, to get to the secretary, to get to the agent. Yeah. And I was jumping up and down, and he was very short, so I was naming every short actor I could think. There's Dustin Hoffman in here. I've got Al Pacino. I was like, trying to get someone's attention, and finally by the end of summer, I had finagled an interview with an actual agent, a guy who had an agency at Boulevard. And I said, look, what harm is it going to be? Because suddenly it occurred to me, this isn't 2 + 2 = 4. This was an amorphous business that these people put their fingers in their mouths to see which way the wind was blowing. And I knew how to blow wind. Yeah. Wow, that's a title. But I love that. I knew how to create excitement, and I knew how to introduce enough doubt to them, enough excitement to them, the possibility of what if, that I could get them to pay attention. And I got this guy. I said, what's it going to cost you? Give him 10 minutes of your time, because all I wanted to do was deliver this yes to my boyfriend, so that I could finally say, before I went off to college, hey, I got you an interview. And before I went off to college in 80, I got him an interview.
Wow.
And the guy said yes. And then I'm away at college, and it turns out that the guy not only said yes, but the guy got him a job. He got some gig on chips, right?
Wow.
And I thought, oh my God, his face is going to be chiseled into the Mount Rushmore Hall of Fame. I was like, I'm glad that I had one little part of his career. Maybe he'll remember me when we're 90, and I'll say, remember when?
Yeah.
And he and I fizzled out, but I never forgot the thrill I had in getting the yes. Never. It was so profoundly interesting to me, and I knew I was good at it. And I realized this is a business based on air. And what you have to do is shape it, and shape the air into the dreams and make the dreams into a reality. And I knew I was good. And so when I graduated, the first place I went to was the William Morris Agency, and I got a job as a secretary.
Wow. And you went solely based off of gut instinct, right? You trusted your gut. And especially that yes sort of like was that stamp of approval to say, you're good at this. Yeah. It's something to pursue, right?
It defined me. I think that when I was a kid, my father, when they said no, it just meant you didn't try hard enough. Do it again, figure out a different way in. It was really good for my career personally. It makes me lack discipline a little bit. Don't eat that cake. Well, maybe I will. I don't take no easily, which can be very frustrating for my husband. But I think I had found because of this guy and this experience, I had stumbled into what would become my future. Wow. And what I would say to people, women, is that your careers are not planned. They happen. And you have to look at the opportunity around you and learn from it and excise what you can do well in it, and then see where you go. It is not paint by numbers, ladies. Right. And the future is limitless. So you don't only have to do one thing.
Yes. Right, which is what we love so much about your career, and why we wanted to have you on the show was because of that, right? You started off in one point, and almost like your career is like a rainbow. So it's full of so many colors, and you haven't said no to yourself, right? You yourself are limitless. I would love to know, when was that switch for you when you went from agent to producing and then writing? Because you have such a beautiful career, but when was that switch for you?
Well, I've always been a writer, but I never wanted to own it. I was afraid, or I was afraid of being judged, because I had started as a secretary, and I worked really hard in the boys club in the 80s at a very big boys club place called the William Morris Agency. And it was hard. It was hard. The sexism, just the everyday things. I mean, I don't know if this is an R-rated podcast, so I can't tell you.
No, we keep it real.
We keep it real. R for real, Elaine.
Yes.
But well, after I write the book, I'll come back and we'll really talk about some of those interesting experiences. But it was hard to be a woman in the 80s and want to succeed and be allowed in and not be hated and not remind them of their mothers or their sisters or the people they saw at Temple. They wanted their secretaries. Actually, when I started, one of the agents called them sexy terries, and that was allowed.
Oh, wow.
That's maybe it had echoes of people they kept at distance, and certainly if you were ambitious as a secretary, they frowned upon secretaries becoming trainees, becoming agents. Some did, but it was not an easy road.
Wow.
So by the time I became an agent, I was so dying to get out and get started. And I came out of the gate fast. And I needed to prove myself, because it had been a very hard progression for me to get promoted, very hard. And I needed to prove myself over and over again to the men on the first floor, the board of directors, the guys who controlled not only the paychecks, but your future. It's kind of like I don't know. I always wanted to get the A in school. I needed the validation somehow. It never stopped. So I was always trying to impress them, get the pat on the back.
Right.
And I did that, and I ended up, you know, much because of great women I worked with. A woman named Toni Howard, who's still an agent, who's, you know, she represents Samuel Jackson and Laura Linney, and I don't know. I mean, a host, Michael Keaton, a host of people. She mentored me, and a woman named J.J. Harris, who died very young. A woman named Risa Shapiro, who signed Julia Roberts and introduced her to me. Standing on their shoulders and with them, I was able to make a name for myself.
Wow.
Honestly. And I found that it was the women in my life who gave me their hand more than not. And you know, I guess I wish I had realized it at the time more. But I was too busy trying to prove myself. So I worked at William Morris until 1991 maybe. And there were agency wars. There was an agency called ICM, an agency called CAA, and they were all coming after our clients, and in some cases us, the agents. And finally, Risa Shapiro, who's another agent who signed Julia, and I went to ICM, and we took our clients. We represented the most powerful women in the business, and we went to ICM, and we worked for a man who supported strong women, who liked strong women, a man named Jeff Berg. And we worked there through the 90s. And it was there that I was able to really, you know, hone my craft, because I was lucky enough to represent Julia, who was the biggest star in the world.
Yes.
And as a result, we read every female genre script you can imagine.
Sure.
And it's almost like majoring in the female audience. You know, that's what I did in the 90s. And beyond Julia, I represented a lot of people: Spike Lee, Tim Robbins, Susan Sarandon. We had Andy McDowell. We had Jennifer Connelly. We had Patrick Dempsey. We had so many people.
McDreamy.
I will always remember him for McDreamy.
Matt Dillon. I was lucky enough to represent Darren Star and help him set up Sex in the City.
Iconic.
And doing that, I would read scripts and I would call the writers and go, "Hey, what if you do this?" And sometimes the writers went, "I love it." And sometimes the writers were like, "Be an agent."
Yeah.
And I found myself yearning to work on story. And I think of everything I've ever done in my career, looking back, the scariest thing was because I had become arguably one of the most powerful agents in the business by 98, 99. I represented Madonna. I represented Jennifer Lopez. I had moved from LA to New York because my husband, my boyfriend at the time, who later became my husband, lived in New York. And I always wanted to live there. And I didn't want to just wake up, no pun, with my client list. I wanted more. So I moved, and people had said, "You shouldn't, you're going to ruin your career. And I went, okay, I'm going to see where it goes. I don't quite know why I was fearless, because I'm afraid of so many things, but I just decided to believe in myself.
Yeah. Especially at the height of your career, right?
Well, yeah, I didn't realize how powerful I was. I didn't realize, like, initially that my boss had said, "No, you can't move to New York." I went, "Okay."
And you still
and
did
someone
it.
went, "Fuck that. What are you talking about? What do you?" And I went, "Yeah, I think I'm going to, stop me."
Yeah. Wow.
And so I went, and at first I was scared. And then when I went, I think quickly thereafter, I signed Madonna. And I signed Jennifer Lopez, and I signed Matt Dillon. I think that was when I signed Spike Lee. I reinvented. And I guess if there's any lesson that I would say, it's that every 10 years you should reinvent, or you should look at yourself and go, "What can I do different?" I mean, I believe that. I believe that we get stuck in a rut. And I don't know how at the age of 22 you can say this is what I'm going to do forever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe some people get, but you know, I look at Jennifer Lopez, who became my friend. When I signed her, we became friends. And I guess that was in '98. God, so long ago. It's crazy.
I know.
But even she was a dancer who became an actress who became a singer who became a brand who became a businesswoman, and now one of the biggest icons on the planet.
Yeah.
And, you know, she was marginalized, truly resented, made fun of by a lot of people in Hollywood. It's kind of like haters hate and then they copy, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And she was, and it wasn't that she wasn't affected by it, because of course she was, but she wasn't afraid by it. She wasn't scared by it. Anyway, at a certain point, I thought, I think I need to end this. I think I don't want to be an agent anymore. I realized that making the deals was not the fun for me. It was what I call the Zamboni. It's my word, you know, the guy on the ice that polishes it. I like getting scripts and doing the Zamboni and trying to find the gold. And I do it on movies and I go, gosh, if they could do it this way, and it probably drives everyone crazy, but that's really what I wanted. And I did. And Joe Roth, who's a very big producer at the time, was running a studio, and he had a lot of backing for his own studio. So I said to him, I would love to run your studio in New York.
Oh wow.
And maybe work writing. And he said, okay.
Oh wow.
So I left agency, which was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
And I started to run Revolution Studios in New York City.
Wow.
And, you know, they did everything from Black Hawk Down to Cross the Universe to Maid in Manhattan to 13 Going on 30 to
I love that movie.
you know,
It's one of my favorites.
yeah, Mona Lisa Smile, you know, a lot of great films. And I sort of did what I call the female ones.
Right.
Those are the ones that I oversaw. And they did other great films. I'm just not thinking of them all. And so because Joe believed in me and allowed me this amazing opportunity, I began to run the studio, and there you could run and produce.
Oh
Wow.
Yeah, a woman named Deborah Schindler, who had produced How Stella Got Her Groove Back and Waiting to Exhale, and she was going to run Julia's production company, who had a deal with Joe, and she taught me how to produce.
Wow.
And again, I relied on her,
Right.
her skill and kindness, and I understand, and I learned, because it was a big learning curve going from an agent to that. But again, I wanted to write.
Yeah.
And I actually wrote on Maid in Manhattan. We had gotten a script that needed pretty much a page one rewrite, and we didn't have time. We were in a box, so it was kind of like Joe said, "Pull up your sleeves and do it," and I did. And it wasn't about credit, and I didn't get credit, and it's okay. The writer who got credit knows what I did, and I know what I did. But what it did is it showed me that I could do it.
Right. Right.
And I remember Bob Hoskins, who was in the movie, rest in peace. He played the butler. He saw me on set doing a rewrite, and he said, "You must write. You must," because I had written a scene for him. And it sort of haunted me, and I thought, okay. And, you know, I'd worked on other scripts, but I never took credit until much later. I started to take credit and stand in the truth of, yes, I'm a writer producer. And that's where I am now. Well, I mean, who knows where I'll be in 10 years, but you know, so that's the short version of the long road.
Yeah.
I love
That's
that. I mean, so
amazing.
many questions, even like you mentioning like the boys club in Hollywood, like, is it still like that? Like, and also what's the mind frame as a woman that you have to have in order to secure that spot at the table?
I just felt like, you know, you couldn't judge anybody. It was hard. Some of that we had to navigate monsters. Some of us became monsters.
Wow.
I mean, it was hard. You can't judge people, or
Right.
you can, I guess, but I try to look at it in a kaleidoscopic way from 360 degrees. It was hard, the boys club. And is it still? I don't know. I hate when the world calls the movies rom-coms. I think that's insidious.
I'm so with
I think
you
it's
on that.
insidious, because I think that movies that you love, like Heaven Can Wait, In Terms of Endearment, and Jerry Maguire, and movies that stand the test of time, Tootsie, they're all rom-coms. But what we've done now is we have marginalized them. We call them chick flicks, and we reduce them as if they are somehow not as. And so does the boys club exist? Yes, it exists in all of us, and we've got to elevate.
Yes.
We've got to give women chances, and we've got to support women. And now I've been for the last 9 years working as Jennifer's partner, and for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 movies, we've worked with female directors, other female producers, female editors, we have to give women the chance. I want to give back to women the way I was mentored by women.
That's amazing.
A woman named Sue Manger was a very famous agent, tough, much older than I, legendary by the time I was a secretary. I guess saw herself in me and believed in me. And that meant a lot to me. So trying to mentor other women, I mean, that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this, because it's called Millennial Women. And letting them know that there's not any one way to do it,
Yes, that's so important. And it's funny, because even when I reached out to you, what we take pride on in our show is our mentor episodes, because we do value people such as yourself who have, in a way, even through social media and through this podcast, mentoring all of us, right? It's important for us to know where you've been, where you've come from, and where you're going, in order for us to also see the light at the end of the tunnel for us. Right. And that's what we love so much about, not about the year 2020, okay, but about the situation in terms of the internet, the power of connection, like how we are right now. You're in New York and we're in Miami, but we're connecting here. We're not, we're continuing to move forward in a positive light. And that means a lot to not just me and Steph, but to our community, because we need women like yourself to step in and say, just like how you said, there is no right way of doing things.
There is no end of the tunnel. That's what you have to realize. There is no, the light is, you might have detours. I wrote a script called Second Act. I actually wrote on other movies more than I even wrote on Second Act, but I took credit on Second Act because it was really inspired by myself, by Jennifer, that the only thing stopping you is you.
Yeah, right.
If you guys wanted to write a screenplay, you could do it. You've got to take the straitjacket off your own sense of I can't, or I'm too old, I'm too fat, or I'm too whatever. The only thing stopping you from living the life that you want to live is you. And once you recognize that and you go, who gives a fuck what anyone says? You are emancipated. And then you have to live and die on your own success. And if you fail, because you will, we all do, you have to stand up, wipe yourself off, and be better because of the failure. Learn from it. And I guess that's what I'm saying to you, to your listeners. It's all about the pivot.
Yes.
Life is, you get up and you look at the road around you and, oh my goodness, there's a lion in the road, pivot. Or, oh my gosh, there's a flower over there, pivot, smell it, pivot, avoid, pivot. Be okay with the pivot. You can't anticipate it, but life is about how well we pivot and how well we adjust. And sometimes I do it really well. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I worry, like, where are we going? And, how will this end?
Right.
And I suppose none of it is if we create enough of an echo. It's funny. In social media, I'm on Instagram now, and
we follow you.
Yeah.
Do you follow my Instagram? You do?
Yes, I love it.
So my Instagram, I have to. It's embarrassing, but like I'm now getting people going, "Come on, you're not posting," or the pressure I'm getting from it.
Oh my God, there is a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I have a lot of pressure on this now.
I know.
And I don't have a lot. I've got like 100,000 followers. It's not like I'm millions of people. But what's funny is it does connect you to people all over the world in a way that you You can't be. We would never be. I love the future. Maybe that's the secret. The
Yes.
future
Yes.
excites me. I love the fact that I can't wait to see driverless cars that come and pick you up, and that with a Bluetooth know your schedule, so they gas themselves and they drive themselves and they take you to where you need to be, and you can have meetings in the cars, and your cars are your computer. I can't wait.
Yes. Oh, me
Yes.
too.
Yes.
Oh, you are speaking.
She talks about this all
Hold
the
on,
time.
you're speaking my language, because like my dream is to have a Tesla. Out of all cars, I have to have a Tesla, just because it drives itself and
You're so
it
funny.
summons to you. Like the car, you can be parked anywhere, the car comes to you.
Yeah.
Like you're speaking my language. This is like my excitement. Yes.
Okay, Melissa, let me give you a little tip. They're all going to have, in about 2 or 3 years, they're all going to drive to you.
I can't
Yeah.
wait.
And here's what you'll be doing. You won't own cars. You'll have an account with like an Uber company, and you'll say, this week I'd like a Tesla, and the Tesla will come to you. It'll pick up your schedule on Bluetooth. It'll take you to where you need to be. It'll know your doctor's appointments. It'll park itself. It'll maintain itself. The next week you'll say, oh my gosh, we're going up to the mountains. Can we have a 4x4? And a truck will show up. The next week you'll say, I just want a little, whatever you call it, a Prius, to do errands.
Yeah.
You'll
so gonna
pay
be
a
like
monthly subscription to a service that will service all those cars. So the way you're thinking is even 2020. But if you think of a service, which I think is already out there.
Well, I was going to say, when are you going to start this company? I was just going to say, when are you starting this company? Because this is like going to kick Uber's butt.
I think it exists, and I think what it'll be is, instead of paying a lease for a car,
Right.
you'll pay a subscription to one of those companies where you can drive, and your kids will go, wait a second. You mean you bought one car and that was all you drove?
Right.
And you had to gas it and you had to maintain it? They go, God, that was so hard.
Yeah.
Because
That's so funny.
people that are being born now, when they grow up, they're not going to know how to drive.
Yeah.
They'll have a company that provides cars based on our need, that drives you wherever you need to go, that Wazes it, because it's all through Bluetooth.
Right.
Your schedule, your contacts, your meetings, your appointments. And that's the future. And I can't wait.
Oh my gosh.
And much as I enjoy driving myself, because with each generation you find you miss something. I remember when I was making Mona Lisa Smile, we were working at a library, and I picked up a book that was written in the 1870s. And the writer was reminiscing about the good old days in the 1830s. So each generation with progress feels like they're missing something from the generation before.
Right.
I think.
Oh,
you know?
absolutely. I definitely think that.
Yeah.
And I love it. I'm just like you. I get so excited about the future, and even
I mean, that's kind of like even with the car situation, like I'm getting ready to sell my car, and there's an app called Turo that you can just rent out instead of like committing to this lease. Like I'm kind of like the wanderlust bird of the family. So I feel
she
like
loves to travel.
I can't have attachments. Like if I have a leased car here, like then I can't leave.
Wait, so what is Turo? What is Turo?
So Turo is an app that you pretty much, it's kind of like an Airbnb for cars. So when I go to LA or wherever I go, I can just rent a car instead of like going the traditional route. I just rent somebody's car. And it's like you can rent it for however long you want or how little you want. You have all this array of different cars. So like everything that you're talking about, like
you're renting someone else's car.
Right.
Like
but
like
I do
Airbnb.
think I think it was like Volkswagen that is starting to do something like that.
No,
which
Volvo.
is,
Yeah, where you
Volvo.
can lease through them.
Yes.
Right.
So I love it. I mean,
It's coming, guys. It's coming.
Yeah.
Much like the movie business that is now sort of becoming a streaming business.
Yeah.
It's coming, and it's not because of it. And maybe it is because of the pandemic, but it's all foretold, and you can fight it and bemoan it, or you can go along with it and go, okay, that's the future. And I kind of am excited by the future right now. Let's see where I am in 10 years. Let me see where I am about the future in the future.
and it's perspective, like that perspective to look, like for you to say, I'm excited for the future in 2020, going through all that we've been through this year. I mean, like, I'm in awe of that, because ultimately it really falls into the perspective. Like, because you always have that choice. You can be like, I'm scared of what's going to happen. I'm scared of the future. Or you can just focus on what you're saying, like progress or what could be, right? Just that perspective.
Yeah, but if you're afraid of the future, your fear doesn't alter it. You see, so why not embrace it as opportunity? As you know, I'm excited because we have so much on our horizon, Jennifer and I,
right?
And we're building this huge company called New Eurekan Productions, and I love working with her. She's just empowered and loving, and you know, and helps you believe in yourself. So it's great to have a partner like that. You know, it really is. That. And relentless.
Yeah.
She never stopped. She's doing a video right now.
That is so awesome.
You know.
I'm very curious, because I have seen, you know, your work together, especially with J-Lo now, you know, second act, and, you know, art is so deep. I always feel like before anybody are going to listen to, you know, governments, they are going to hear music, they're going to see films. Do you ever feel like a sense of responsibility when you're creating, you know, this piece of art in a film and putting it out there? Do you feel like, oh my God, millions of people are going to watch this, and ultimately I'm going to influence, you know, humanity in some way, shape, or form? Do you ever feel that?
Yeah, I mean, on second act, I wanted to do more to it, but what happens on the films is that other people come in, and it becomes this collaborative, you know, art. And so it's not one person. Yeah, you have to find a way. You know, there's a cartoon character when I was a kid called Baboom, which was this little kind of Eskimo guy that would open his mouth and go Baboom, and the mountain would crush, right? But you can't Baboom everything,
right?
You have to figure out other ways to go around it. And do I worry about the message? No, sometimes I wish it had hit it better. I Zamboni my own stuff and go, oh, we should have done that, or I wish they would have done that. But at a certain point, it's got to live, and it's not one person's vision. It's the compilation of a group of people that you've worked with. And so, warts and all, you try to appreciate it much like a child. Right. You know, you birth a child, and they take on their own experiences. They grab from the world, and they morph into versions of who you wanted, but they've got their own lives. Well, so do movies. So you can't be proprietary, you know. You have to allow them to become whatever it is they become, and hope that people find joy or enlightenment or entertainment as a result of them. You know, that's how it is for me. Tell me about your listeners. Who are your listeners, and what is your audience?
I mean, our listeners are millennial women, right? And they're from, I think now they're about 25, 26, all the way up to 38. Yeah. So I'm 32 and Steph is 29. So we are like the real, and I'm not saying the real millennials, but, you know, right in that sweet spot of our generation. And,
which makes it exciting, because, you know, we never have to focus on like, what are we going to talk about? It's like, what do we actually need right now in this state in our life? So our listeners really are interested in growing mind, body, and soul. And that's what we focus on. And conversations like this that, you know, thank you for being so open. I can't wait to read your book. That's going to be amazing.
The book is historical fiction, and they keep going, more sex. I'm like, but it's the book is fun. It's fun. It's really about three women who bring an agency to its knees.
I love it.
I don't know what it's called yet. I was thinking of curves with balls, but I'm not sure.
That's almost
I love that.
It's almost like the new version of 9 to 5, you know, like the movie 9 to 5.
Yeah. It's a little like, you know, I don't know what it is. It's very soapy, because you're going to follow the lives of these three women who come from three different places and bully the bullies. And some of them become the very bullies that they're bullying.
Right.
So, you know, it doesn't try to pretend too much, but when you look at what's happened in the past few years with the Me Too movement and the Harvey Weinsteins of the world, who I knew, you understand that there was an environment that allowed that behavior to flourish. There was an environment before the 80s. There was, they say that Louis B. Mayer, kind of bullied, harassed Shirley Temple. So it was a playground where people got away with as much as they were allowed to get away with, and the more powerful they were.
Right. And in a way, they almost felt like, when it's funny because when I first moved to LA to start in my career as an actor, so I've been an actress since I was 14. I remember my dream was always to work with Harvey Weinstein because he always made all the Oscar films. And I remember this one writer, Mark Klein, I don't know if you know him, who has written a lot of great movies, had said to me, if you ever meet him, never go by yourself, And I never really I was like, okay, I never really go by myself anywhere, but I didn't understand until obviously much later, and understood what people were saying about what was going on, that I truly was afraid. I was afraid about certain situations, and the industry can get very complicated.
But even on that was happening on a super high level, but it really trickled down because on my end, as I was in music, we were both doing entertainment in LA, I was dealing with people that, they weren't to that even high level, but still adapted that kind of atmosphere. Oh, you want to do this song where you're going to have to do this? Who are you? It was just the atmosphere.
It was how much you wanted it. I was, when I was a young secretary, we were all gathered in the conference room because our client, the client of the agency, Bill Cosby, wanted to thank us all for it was a Christmas, I guess, and it was his way of, he threw a big lunch for all the secretaries, and we were there, and I remember him saying to me, we had our name tags, and he said to me, what's your name? And I said, Elaine Goldsmith. And he said, and do you want to be a secretary? And in those days, at William Morris, if you said you wanted to do more, they frown on it because they didn't want their secretaries to think they could become agents. So I said, that's all I want. And he said, where'd you go to school, college? And I told him, and he said, and that's all you want? Come on, I bet you're smart. And we talked for a while. We talked about my majoring in communications and rhetoric and the art of argumentation. And I felt like, wow, this guy sees me.
Yeah.
He really believed in me. He couldn't have been nicer. And he spoke to me in a way that made me feel, like I said, seen. And afterward, I got a call from downstairs, one of the secretaries saying, Mr. Cosby would like you to go, and they want these contracts signed. Go to his hotel and bring it to him. I was going to. I was like, yes, how fantastic. He liked me. He believed in me. And a friend of mine who worked for the president of the agency, I saw her in the bathroom, I think, and she said, do not go. Now, she didn't say, this is what's, she said, don't go. It won't be good. Don't go. I promise you, don't go. And she scared me enough. Because I really felt like, oh, come on, I'm fine. Nothing's good. But she scared me enough. She said, tell them you have cramps. Wow. And so I did.
Wow.
And I didn't go. And I wonder what would have happened because I was so gullible. And I again, wanted to be seen, recognized as somebody who had value and, was more than just a typist, that I don't know. But I never went. And to be fair, he was perfectly lovely to me when I saw him.
Right.
But of course, what you hear about later. And when I was an agent, I never knew about Harvey. I knew he was a dog, kind of a boy, but I had such big stars. I represented such big stars that he didn't prey on the big stars. He preyed on the ingenues.
Right.
And so in my head, I thought maybe he cheats on his wife. It never hit my radar.
Right.
And it's scary, right? To think, all women in all industries, what they have had to face, right, in order to succeed. Because at the end of the day, they do two things to you. They make you either feel like seen where they trick you, right, to take advantage of you, or they think that they're doing you a favor. So they diminish you and they say, well, they make you work hard for something, but they just make you feel like they're doing you the favor, right? And then you almost feel like, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later when it comes to salaries and stuff like that. But, I would love to know from your perspective, especially when it came to you writing and creating, your own films. I know that in Hustlers, for example, it was really hard to get that project uplifted.
Well, I didn't write Hustlers at all. I mean, that was Lorene Scafaria who wrote Hustlers, but
you produced it.
It was hard. It was hard. I produced it. I went around with Lorene and a woman named Jessica Elbaum, again, reliant on the women in my life.
Yeah.
And again, if I have a special skill, it's selling. It was from all those years of being an agent and learning how to get the yes, right?
Right.
That's probably what the book will be called, Getting the Yes.
I love that.
I went everywhere, and Lorene had cut an amazing sizzle reel, and she is a beautiful lyrical director, and she in her mind knew everything she wanted to do. And I gave a great preamble, and Jessica Elbaum was there, who works with Gloria Sanchez, and Lorene was there, and every single person, including Netflix, passed and said, people said, no one's going to want to see a woman conning men. And I said, but you all loved Wolf of Wall Street with a guy conning women. I mean, what? And they, but people don't want to see this. Why don't you make the guys rapists? And then everyone can root for the women. And
Come on.
But that wasn't this. This is based on
a true story.
So it was this one man, Adam Fogelson at STX. I called him and I said, can you listen to this? And he did. And then he watched Lorene's sizzle reel, which was phenomenal. I can't describe it. It was so well put together. It showed all of it showed women in the hustle. It showed women trying to do what men do. It showed how they've gotten to the point where they're fed up. Don't hate the player, hate the game. And if you can't hate the game, join the game. And it was brilliant. And so Adam said yes, and then we had to really tap dance to make it. He wanted us to keep casting, pushing us. We got Cardi, we got Lizzo, and we made it with not a lot of money in 29 days, which is about 10 to 15 days shorter than a movie with a bigger budget, I should say. And I think we finished it in May and we released it in September. It was so crazy quick. And it was great. And
it was so good.
It felt so sweet and amazing. And we have a movie coming out, which I'm not sure when this is going to air. Is this going to air right around the movie?
Yes,
it
is. Because we're going to talk about Marry Me for sure.
And I want to talk about it. I want to know everything about it.
Wait till you guys see the trailer. It's so good. They're making us hold it because of the pandemic, and they do want to make it an event because it's an album and a film.
Cool.
It's about destiny. And it's about the pageant of being married, and as opposed to the reality of it. And it's really about celebrity and social media and destiny, I would say, because you have a woman who on social media is in love with a guy who on social media professes his love. But she finds out they're going to get married actually at Madison Square Garden in front of 20 million people because they're live streaming it, or at another venue because they're live streaming it. And she finds out just before that her boyfriend is, that her fiance is cheating with her assistant.
Oh, wow.
So, she has one of these moments that you have in life where you're at a crossroads, only she has it in front of 20 million people.
Wow.
And she melts down and has this meltdown on stage about life, about love being a lie. And maybe if somebody can actually do this to you, maybe love is about just taking a leap of faith with someone you don't know. Maybe you take love off the table, and at that moment you see this guy who is completely wrong for her, like this just a generic teacher who was dragged there by his best friend. And he's holding his best friend's sign. And of course, the sign is the first song that she was going to sing to her fiance as the new single she's released. And it's called Marry Me. So at that moment that she sees him, her and sort of as a gag and a goof and a fuck you to her fiance, her cheating fiance, she says yes.
Wow.
And the movie is about the journey that these 3 people take. Maluma is her her fiance,
Oh, wow.
and he's lovely. I couldn't love working with him more. He's just a dream, and he was a great actor.
I'm excited to see him
Yeah.
as an actor.
Is this his first acting role?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mhm. And
I'm looking forward
he
to
dove in. He understood it. He didn't judge the guy. He said, "Look, they broke up. He had a little thing, and
Trying to justify everything. That's so
and-
funny.
and it's about love and celebrity and living in a fishbowl and ignoring the fishbowl and ignoring the comments and getting to know somebody. And it's the most beautiful music you've heard. It's such great, catchy songs.
Yeah.
And it's a love story like Roman Holiday. I don't know if you know the movie
Yes.
with Audrey Hepburn.
Mhm.
Oh, I love
Or it's the proposal, or it's it's a romantic comedy. I won't call it a rom-com, but
Yeah.
it's probably more romantic than anything else, because it's about a woman falling in love with who she is and not who she's supposed to be.
That's a great
And
great message.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I cannot wait for people to see it. It's been
Yay.
torture. So if the pandemic personally has bummed me out, it's like, it's such a good movie.
Oh,
So
very
it's called
excited.
Marry Me, and it's Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson, who's amazing, and Maluma, and Sarah Silverman, who is Owen Wilson's best friend, who drags him to the wedding, and Melissa. It's so lovely. It's lovely.
I
Oh my
love
God,
it.
I am
Oh,
so excited to see this film. I mean,
Yeah.
this has been so lovely talking with you, but I want to ask you one last question. What is the best advice you can give to us and also to our listeners about life in general?
All right, you're the traveler, right?
yeah,
Yes.
she is.
Don't stop. Don't
Mm.
stop. I think the advice I gave you was buried in the podcast. Pivot.
It is.
Guys,
Yeah.
look around you every day at the opportunities, at the obstacles, figure out a way to get around them. Don't be so hard on yourselves. Forgive yourselves your mistakes. You will make them. Forgive yourselves your transgressions. You will make them. Try to be better than your mistakes and your transgressions. Try to be kind and try to help other people, paying it forward, because you sometimes, when you do look back, which I don't do a lot, because then I'd feel like I'm 100, but when you do look back, try to recognize the people who have helped you and then pay it forward by helping other people. That's my motto. And remember, the only thing holding you back is you. You want to be an actress, Melissa, still be an actress. The only thing holding you back and stopping you is you. Nothing else is. Nobody's judgments, nobody's saying no. Reinvent. There's a lot of ways through the mountain. You can vavoom it, right?
Yeah.
Or you could climb it step by step, or you can find another way in. But whatever your dream is, figure out a way to try to get there and just keep trying. That's what I would say, you millennial women, you.
I love
I
it,
love
Elaine. What
that.
beautiful words. You actually got me a little bit emotional.
I
so
know.
I appreciate it so much. And thank you for taking the time to talk with us and
Yes.
spend time with our listeners. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Elaine.
Well, I can't wait, and I can't wait for you guys to see Marry Me, and you can follow me on Instagram at EGT239, because I will be putting up little Marry Me stuff on my site.
Awesome.
Oh, yes, absolutely. We love it.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Elaine.
Thanks, Elaine.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Make sure you check out Elaine's new film, Marry Me, and follow her on Instagram at EGT239.
And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. This helps us bring you inspirational conversations just like this to you every single week.
We encourage you to continue on with the conversation.
Keep being the strong, amazing woman that you are, and never forget to live inspired.
Until next time,
Always love,
Melissa.
and Stephanie Carcache.